Kendall, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be on.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. Offline, we were mentioning how we've connected a little bit in the past, once or twice remotely, and a lot of emails. So excited to learn more. But just for the sake of our listeners, and I ask everyone this because it kind of sets the tone for like who you are and where
Mhm.
you're from, and just the way everyone thinks about the world. But where are you originally from?
I'm originally from Philadelphia, so yeah, go Birds. Yeah. So my whole family still lives right around Philadelphia.
Okay, cool. Yeah, so from Philadelphia, and then I've talked to several Riverside people, but so how did you get over to Israel, where I think the company is headquartered or one of the headquarters? Like, how did that whole transition work out? Because for our listeners, Kendall is currently in Israel, and so you give a little
Yeah.
story about how that worked out. Because Gilly,
Yeah,
I
it's a
think
long story.
Gilly's from the U.S. as well, I believe.
hmm
And so it's just
Yes.
interesting how there's a lot of Americans working abroad.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm based in Tel Aviv now, and the company as a whole, we're a global company. So we have some people in Tel Aviv, we have people in Ukraine, Philippines, US, Warsaw, Toronto. We're building an office. So yeah, we got people all around. I ended up in Tel Aviv, as cliche as this is, for love. Yeah, I met my now
Cool.
wife at the time, just person, but then she became my girlfriend while I was visiting one time. And so from there it just kind of took off and we kept talking and at one point I was a political journalist at NBC at MSNBC. I was doing television production, which kind of relates to a little bit of what I'm doing now with video and audio production. And so I left that and was like, let's just try living here. Let's see how it goes. And I'd say it was pretty successful. Now we're married. We have a 1-year-old daughter. So
Oh,
yeah,
no
the
way.
risk
Me
was
too.
definitely yeah. Oh,
It's
nice,
crazy.
nice.
Yeah. It's I love it,
It's
but it's absolutely I have a 1 year old, or she's like 16 months, and then a 3.5 year old, both two daughters.
It's so funny when people like before I had a kid, they'd be like, "Oh, 16 months." I'd be like, "Why don't they just say one?" But then like you see like a 11 month, 12 month, and then you see like a few. It's like crazy how things change. So now I'm like become one of these people. But before I was like, "She's 8 weeks," and people are like 2 months. I'm like, "No, no, no. Now I count my life in weeks."
Yeah,
So
I
yeah.
was kind of against all that too. Like, I don't know why I was against it, but I kind of
I was
was
just
too. I
like,
was
oh,
like, it's
that's
so
really
weird.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then you
Yeah.
get it. You're like, oh, a 1 year old is like at the beginning of 1 year old and a 1 year old at the end are like two completely different people. And one knows how to speak and yell at me and the other one doesn't. And that's the difference.
It's so funny. Yeah, I don't know why I was like that too, but then yeah,
Yeah.
once you're in it, and it's just for like explaining to other people, I guess, that know like how fast every month they like develop more and more. So yeah, you just
Yeah. It's crazy.
goes by months and it's easier.
Yeah.
Um oh, so
Just
so
like
you met.
Riverside, every month, something new.
Yeah, and I love that about Riverside, which we'll get into. Um Dude, but that's like a textbook. That's like a book or something. Like you, people that go abroad, whether they're studying or traveling, they meet someone, they start dating, they fall in love, and then they end up
Yeah.
staying there, which I think is so cool. I think like a part of me, not anymore now, but like when I was younger, definitely like that was like a fantasy almost. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I actually at my wedding, like I used to do this like travel blog as a joke. It was more of like a hit at like influencers in a way that I'd be like, "This is Kendall, this is my travel blog," because like no one cares, and so just like a joke with me and my friends. And I made this whole thing about like I'm gonna find the love of my life on this trip, and then the first day I had a bug bite me in the face, and like my eye was huge, and so I posted this video being like, I think this is the time I'm going to meet the one for me. And then the next video was me being like, this medical student on the trip is taking me to the pharmacy. And that was now my wife. So obviously we played that at the wedding. It was just very funny how that kind of stuff works out. But yeah, it was the dream almost to become I was like it became a joke to me as how cliche it kind of
yeah, with the
was.
blog and then that
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
bit. Yeah, what a interesting story. That's really cool. And
Yeah.
so do you go to the U.S. like occasionally or no? Or do you mostly like?
Yeah. So we go, like, I mean, less now. I haven't actually been to the US since my daughter was born. But we try to go like once or twice a year, which is a little crazy, but at the same time, I didn't really like, even when I lived close to my parents, I feel like I wouldn't see them as much as I would like to. So usually, yeah, it's just hard when you live abroad and you have like a certain amount of vacation days and you're like, I could take this to go to Havertown, Pennsylvania, or I could go to Thailand. So like, which one am I going to do? You know? So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think the struggle for people who live abroad is like balancing time off with going home and vacation, I guess.
For some reason in my mind, everyone that's abroad is like always traveling. Like I feel like I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe that's just because like that. This seems like that on social media and stuff. Everyone's like, always. It's like you get the itch and then you just keep
Yeah.
going.
It's just easier. It's also like if you think about it as far as like Europe, when people like hop around other countries, you're like, oh wow, that's so cool that you could hop around other countries. But like we don't really hop around to other states. Like I wasn't taking a plane and going to like Wyoming on my weekend, although I could, and it'd be the same kind of idea. So I would, yeah, that's definitely part of it. And I also have my fun fact about that is that I used to work at Wix before this.
I
And
saw that.
Wix abroad, yeah, Wix abroad, like in Europe and this area, they will give you a certain amount of days off, of vacation days. But in the US, they gave unlimited vacation days. And actually,
One
the
of
people in
those
the US
companies. Yeah.
took less time though. The people in the US, like if you give unlimited, it's almost like, well, I don't want to look bad taking too many days off. And like there's such this stigma and culture around taking time off that actually the people who had unlimited days took less time than the people who were given like a set amount, which is always weird to me.
It's so weird. Yeah. Yeah, just different cultures, I guess. And here it's like more you got to like hustle, you know.
Yeah.
But that's very cool. Okay, so yeah, so you're there and Riverside, they're all over the world, but you know, a lot of it's going on in Tel Aviv. So like when you before you got, and we'll get to all the fun Riverside stuff, but before you were working there, you were a journalist
Yes.
it was more like media based. Were you listening to podcasts? Like when did podcasts actually come on your radar? Because I like to mention that because I think that not like an ego thing, but I feel like I was pretty early to start listening. But I always ask everyone because I feel like I was
Yeah, let
listening
me validate you.
in like
Let me-
2011.
When did Serial come out?
Serial came out before
Such
that.
a cliche.
It's got,
Yeah,
or
so
maybe not. It had. I don't know, but it had to have. So the Serial.
That was definitely my
the
first
one.
podcast.
Okay.
Yeah, that was definitely my first podcast. I remember going on the megabus from DC to New York after I graduated college,
Wow, the
and I remember
Megabus,
listening to Serial. Yes, and so I was listening to that, and then after that, I think it wasn't like I went directly into podcasting. Definitely at the time that I was covering politics, people weren't going on podcasts as much. Like this past election, it was like a major form of
Crazy.
getting your message out there. But before that, it wasn't. So I was listening to like some people's podcasts as that was kind of starting. But Serial was the first one. But then how I really got into podcasting was more. I have a really guilty pleasure of loving reality television.
A lot
And
too.
so,
Yeah, a lot of people.
yeah, so I actually I really caught the podcasting itch from listening to reality TV podcasts.
Okay. Yeah. No shame in that. Like that's.
Yeah,
A lot of
thank you.
people love
Thank
reality.
you for saying that. I feel like people are like, a lot of people, because when I work at Riverside, they're like, and what are your podcast recommendations? And they think I'm going to like talk about like My First Million or Diary of a CEO. And I'm like, you know, there's these two gay men who talk about reality TV and I love them, you know? Yeah.
It's funny when people ask me that too, because we're both in like the podcast industry. They always ask me that, and I feel like they're looking for some like super well produced like NPR and I'm only mostly listen to comedy podcasts just because like it just, I don't know, at the end of the day or in the middle of the day it just kind of takes me away from reality and just get to like laugh and like be dumb, you know?
Yeah,
but yeah, it's funny
exactly.
because I feel like people judge you based on like what
Yeah,
shows
you're like,
you listen to.
like, should I give the real answer or should I say something that sounds more like researched and, you know? And then also another real answer is like true crime. And I always joke that like, if only people could hear what's like playing on my headphones in the bus, you know? Like I'm just like looking all all happy and innocent, like smiling out the window. And meanwhile, it's like, then they walked down the alley and never came back. You know, like crazy stuff's
Yeah,
happening. And I'm
dark.
just like, thank God no one could hear this. So, yeah.
Okay, well that's cool. Yeah, no, I mean
Mhm.
everybody likes what they like. Like I'd like to hear it from people, like different stuff. So now you're at Riverside and you're the community lead there. And what's interesting is that it's funny because you talked about like traveling and now you live in Israel, and it's interesting because I just put this together in my head, but like community, it's like, yeah, if you're well traveled and you're like to be around people, that would be like a natural position to being part like of the community of Riverside. But for those of
Yeah.
us who don't know, tell everybody like what Riverside is, just because chances are a lot of the listeners know, but you never know. There's new people getting introduced to software all the time. So tell us a little about what Riverside is and your role there.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so Riverside is a recording, editing, transcribing, now hosting platform. Basically, your end-to-end content creation solution. So that it's for a lot of people that are listening to your show about podcasts. It's where podcasters can come and record in HD, uncompressed audio, edit into clips, get your transcription, and now, as very recently, be able to host your podcast there too. So our whole goal is high quality, making it fast and easy, and making your content as professional looking as possible.
Yeah, and I use Riverside. Of course, we're recording in Riverside, but I use it for a lot of the client shows that myself and my company produce. It's funny. So I think it was before the pandemic. It was 2019. I was working at this studio in LA called Cast Media, Cast with a K, and I was producing a show that would record there. It was a recording studio, but there was one of the employees of Cast Media. He would run all the video cameras and the audio console. And I remember he was like, eventually during COVID, when that all happened, he was like, oh, well, you guys should stop recording on Skype. Well, it was literally Skype. It wasn't even Zoom then. He's like, and check out this thing called Riverside. And it's my understanding that he was like, I don't know how, but he was like one of the first ones. I guess
I was
he
gonna say that's
even
very early.
very
So it
like
was like right when COVID happened.
he like got on he had like talked to the owners or the founders somehow, and they like set him
Yes,
up, and he
yeah.
got grandfathered into like the highest level account for like really cheap. His name was Brad. And so, yeah, it's just interesting that I've been using, and it's gotten, I mean, back then I was like, oh, this is pretty good. Like there's a lot of hiccups and stuff still, but it's come such a long way from them. But it's just interesting, how I'm sure he still has that enterprise fancy account. So that's very cool. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I talk with people all the time that started early, and like they're like, I hopped on a call with Nadav, who's our CEO,
Nadav.
and
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just so funny. Yeah, yeah, it's just so funny because like I didn't know that when I first joined, so I'd connect with users and be like, wow, so when did you start using it? And they're like, well, I used to use it since I tweeted about it in 2021, and Nadav got on a call with me. It's like really crazy to see how we've come from that to like bringing somebody on like me to like lead community and everything, and also hearing the story about a friend of yours suggesting it, like that's what community is all about. So I didn't answer that second part of your question before, but so
yes.
I'm community lead, and so my whole role is I kind of think of it as the bridge between the product and community and the people that are using the product. So that can be two ways. One is like letting users know about new features, hacks, different things that you can do within Riverside, giving you education and webinars, workshops, that kind of stuff. But then the other side of that bridge is really understanding what feature requests you have, what's important to users, and being that voice in the company that when they're adding a new feature, I can say, well, their follow-up question is going to be this. Why don't we have it work this way? This is what's going to be most important to them. So it's being the voice of Riverside for the community, but the voice of the community for Riverside.
Yeah, no, that's perfect because you need
It's
someone
fun.
to liaison and build those relationships. I mean, relationships are everything in
Yeah.
media, but just in life in general. So yeah, tell us about the new announcement of Riverside's
Yes.
hosting and how we're going to
Drum
be able
roll.
to get to record, edit everything, and then just send our show out to all the listening platforms, all within the dashboard.
Exactly. So yeah, we introduced hosting. We introduced hosting a little bit, a little while ago with just new shows, so creating a new RSS feed. But now the big
Mm.
announcement is that you can bring your existing show and host it within Riverside. And so the really cool part about that is I know that there are so many different options for hosting. But what's cool about Riverside's hosting, in my opinion, is that you're able to do your entire workflow in one place. So you have the same place where you're recording, editing, publishing, and I hear a lot from creators in that role as community manager is one, there's like too many downloads and uploads that are happening. Like I'm recording here, then I'm going to download it and put it to my editor,
That's a
and then I'm going to
lot.
download that, and it's just so many files moving around, and it's really tedious. But two, so many people are doing this because they're passionate about the thing that they're talking about, and they're not necessarily making a ton of money or any at all. So the idea also is like cutting down on the amount of subscriptions that you need. Because when you talk with people, they're like, I use
Mm.
this to record and this to edit and maybe this to schedule, like with my Calendly, and I'm making clips here and I'm publishing here. It's like so much that like, why can't we consolidate that workflow, one, and then make it easier on people's pockets, two? So hosting is now included in all Riverside paid plans. So it's not
Oh,
like an
okay.
extra cost.
That's not an
Yeah,
extra
yeah. So
thing. Oh.
it's not extra. So if you have a pro plan, for example, you're still going to pay that same amount every month, and you just are going to find that hosting's on your left-hand panel. So it's exciting. I'm like, it's crazy because it's like a whole, when I started at Riverside, it was recording and like a little bit of the editor. And then we've like really grown this huge editor, and now we're going into this new domain of hosting. It's just, it's kind of cool. You get to learn even more about different parts of the process.
And as of yeah, and that's awesome. I think that's key. What you said is like there's so many moving parts, and even me like working with different clients, I've been trying to like figure out how to condense it. And see, some people are on Slack, and this is my bad too. Like as like a business leader, this should be my goal, and it kind of is. It's just hard to get around to it, but communicating with some people's teams on Slack, some people on
Hmm.
Microsoft Teams, and then some people, almost everyone that's remote now finally records in Riverside. So that's great. Because before, if they would record elsewhere, they'd put it in Google Drive or Dropbox, and then I would have to go download that. And it's just a good point. Everyone's workflow is all over the place. So
All
something
over
that
the place. It's
it's
crazy.
a nightmare. I even start to get annoyed like how many times I have to like go through my folders and open the folder, and then there's a subfolder. It's just even it's like feels like it wastes my
You're like,
time.
where did
But
I put this thing? And then it's
yeah,
like, and if you forget to delete these huge files, they're huge files. If you forget to delete them, you're like, why is my computer so slow? It might be because I have like 80 episodes just like sitting on this computer that I don't need because they're published already. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And so with hosting, and I'm this is like the initial launch, so I'm sure just like with everything Riverside does in time, it keep iterating and it gets better.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it'll. I haven't looked at it yet, but like, so you're showing analytics, and are the analytics pretty basic now, and then they'll continue to get better, or what's that like?
Exactly.
Because everyone is in. I'm not as much a fanatic about analytics, but a lot of people are.
Hmm.
So is it? I'm assuming there's a dashboard or interface for all that stuff.
Yes. So there's a dashboard with a few of the basic analytics, so
Okay.
streams, where the people are coming from. We're going to continue to iterate on that, and like very soon too. Like this is kind of I like to call like version 1 in the way. Which, and I say that not because it's like not a great version. It's because of the fact that like at Riverside we're constantly adding more features to things. Like we're putting things out that are stable and reliable and then adding to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the idea is that we're going to be adding even more analytics, like episode by episode kind of analytics. But also, when you are putting your episodes in, because you're recording in one place, and you already have those show notes, for example, when you put that episode in, those show notes are already going to come pre-populated with those
Oh.
AI show notes. And then you can
Okay.
change them, but like you have your chapter time codes, you have the summary and the keywords and all of that. So yeah, there's some like really great advantages, and analytics are going to continue to become part of that advantage.
I like that it's pre-populated
Yeah,
with the show notes.
yeah,
Yeah, that's cool. I mean,
yeah.
because even like it's just another thing to think about. As simple as dumb as it sounds, but to have to copy paste it over, it's it's that's such a little thing. But once you've done
But they
that
all add
thousands,
up.
yeah, it for me at least because I do it every day for people. It's just one more thing to have to worry about. And in Riverside show notes, those are pretty damn good. It'll get you, I mean, you could honestly sometimes do just copy paste it, but if not, it'll get you 75, 80% of the way there. You could add a little bit of your own wordage or, however you want to tweak it.
Or like links that that you want to put in or something like that. Like, yeah, but I mean, I like to think of show notes. A lot of it is like for SEO.
Yes.
I was gonna say I don't don't read them.
I don't read them.
I don't read a show note.
I don't think
I'll
people
read a show
know how.
note if I want to. I'll read a show note if I want to skip something. Like the reality television show podcast they have like little breaks about like a show that they're watching, and if it's not a show I'm watching, then I'll just look at the show notes to like skip that part. But or like for links that people are like, if you want a discount, here's my link type of thing. But otherwise, like what I think and what all creators should be using show notes for is SEO. Like, if you have the keywords, the things that you're talking about, that's all you need in there. And, like, I wouldn't be even worried about making it too long. Because, again, if you really want to describe all the keywords of your show and everything, then, like, by all means, do it. I'm not reading it. Maybe you do, dear listener.
Yeah. I don't read them, but you're right. All the keywords for SEO. And then when I do put my podcast on my website, like the dedicated web page, I will then copy the transcript and use AI to generate more of like not a full blog post, but more in-depth show notes, I call it, and I'll tweak it a little bit, just because that's kind of like another layer of keywords for Google to index and all that.
That you could do that in the co-creator, right? Not to plug another thing in Riverside, but
no, I do want to talk about the co-creator. Well, because dude, it seems like. And I work with Gilly a little bit, but it seems like
shout out to Gilly.
Gilly's on the Riverside team. She's also in the community, same department.
No, she's partnerships. But we're both in marketing. Yeah,
both marketing. Because it seems like in the last, maybe even less than 2 months, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. It was like co-creator, and then the VEO3, which we should definitely talk about because that's super cool. Like that, I mean, it's just going to keep getting better. Everyone's going to be doing it. And then the which I haven't used yet, but the recording 2 people in one room, right?
Yeah. You're on top of those emails.
I get all the emails, and I'm in the partner program, so like,
amazing.
Let's talk about that. So the hosting, congrats on that. That's going to be rad. I'm sure a ton of people are going to take advantage of that, especially. A lot of established shows, they already have their hosting. Some might migrate, but for new people especially, it's going to be all right there. And they're going to be like, oh, why don't I just use this? So that's going to be rad. But let's talk about the 2 people in one room. Do they need to be on USB mics, or can they be full like XLR?
No, they can also be on XLR. You could do either. The cool part for me about the 2 people in one room is that, like, again, when I first joined, it was a remote recording platform. And as we continue to add more things like magic clips, being able to add captions, being able to do AI video generating AI B-roll, which we'll also talk about, like a lot of different show notes, all of that, the transcriptions, I can keep going, but I should stop. I will say that like just people are seeing more and more of the value of Riverside beyond just the high quality recording. So it was really exciting when you're announcing, hey, you could have 2 mics in one room, because it used to be, the conversation used to be, well, if you're recording in person, like, why would you even use Riverside, And now it's like, and now it's becoming that, like, people are really seeing how valuable it is after recording, like the post-production aspect of it, that when I announced it, it was like one of our biggest announcements in the community in the last few months. So now you can use 2 XLR mics or 2 USB mics. And because we saw that kind of response, it also obviously will naturally lead to other parts of the in-person recording process. So just keep watching that space, because we're going to have more announcements as far as in-person recording.
Okay. I love that.
Yeah.
You guys have the developers over there must be crushing it. Like,
they're just like running off of caffeine in a dream.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, love to hear about that. And love to hear that there's always things in development, which I think is cool. So how do you know or does the team know to like what to develop? Like, do you talk to just creators and stuff, and some of the people, some of the internal team might be creators as well, but is it kind of like you just get feedback, or does the team have ideas first and then they test, or like what's that like?
So there are some things that are like kind of, so for the most
Obvious?
part, it's really community driven. No, I was going to say it's really community driven. Like that's what I also love about being community lead here is that whenever we're developing a new feature, they'll reach out to me and say, "Hey, do you know some people that we could talk to that would like to look at this or that have requested this?" I'm constantly taking screenshots of different feature requests and send them to the team. Or we have an in-office system that we use where basically it's kind of like Reddit or like a product hunt where we're putting in feature requests and upvoting when other people say them too. So it's really based on what people want next. Other parts, it's like seeing where the industry's going. So like, for example, magic segments we put out. So we have magic clips, which are like the 60-second clip, 30-second clip. But then we saw on YouTube, like people want just a 10-minute version of their podcast or like just to take out one chapter and
Like
put that in
medium
more
form
content. Yeah.
Yeah.
So then we started making medium form content. That's more of like an industry trend that we see that we react to. But then there's other stuff that like what I find to be really cool is there are some things that that I'm like really impressed with our product team that they'll hear about from users, but think about it in such a cool, different way. So for example, they'll hear a bunch of users say, "Oh, you know, the first thing I do is I go through the transcript and I take out all like the unnecessary parts. Like if there's, we're talking about, is your mic plugged in? Like that kind of stuff." So they made this AI tool that like that scans your transcript and is like, "Hey, it suggests, do you want to take this out? Do you not?" And like you can go through your transcript or AI generative B-roll. So instead of just like getting, we had a library of video footage, but like if people want to put B-roll in, why can't we just press like now a button that says generate AI B-roll and have a bunch of like this different AI B-roll appear throughout your clips? So like we're listening to the community, and then I'm always really impressed by how the product team is like, what else can we be doing this with this? So
Yeah. You know, it is impressive. And I think
I'll let them know.
They're onto something. I love the medium form content, you know, because it's like I have my shows that I watch on YouTube, and then of course on like Instagram or TikTok I see the clips, but I notice some of the successful, like the big YouTube channels, they'll have like the full length podcast interview, then they'll have tons of clips because they have a team that can generate that many clips. But then they'll have the medium form where it's like, say it's an hour show, they'll have like 4 or 5, maybe like 7-minute, 6-minute sections taken from the show that have good context to them. So you don't have to actually know what the full episode is about, but just watch. Yeah. And I'm big on that because, you know, a full show is great. You need a lot of time to consume that. But like a 6-minute clip, 4-minute clip, that's kind of like my sweet spot. And I feel like, it's just more opportunities to generate content. So I've been seeing a lot of like successful YouTubers kind of do the medium form because you meet people where you are. All the stuff we scroll vertical, that kind of catches attention. You meet those people where they are. Then the people that want a little more, you kind of give them the medium. And then like the diehard listeners consume probably all of it and the long form. And then you got the written content for people that like to read, you know, whether that's the blog post. And so I think newsletter, it's all about like just like meeting people. I think where we're at now is like meeting people wherever their attention is. And it's kind of always been like that, but I feel like I'm seeing more and more of that from like the successful creators.
I even would push it further and say that I think that it's about meeting creators where they are. I think that it's not natural for a lot of podcasters to put out a 30-second clip. I mean, like we all want to talk, like we want to really unpack something. Yeah. So the idea of like compressing what is a really great conversation into a 60-second clip, and then also trying to compete with like these people that are like, you'll never believe what happened here. Like my podcast kind of format doesn't allow, like, how can it compete with something like that? Yeah. So I think that the 10-minute, 8-minute, whatever clip of like a segment, as we call it, it's still able to go like a little bit more short form. It's mid form, but it's like more approachable for podcasters. Like, let's actually get into the topic that we talked about. Maybe not the full hour of the topic we talked about, but like 10 minutes of it just feels more approachable for people that like a long form.
Totally more approachable. And I feel like there's all this pressure as podcasters to compete in like the vertical clip world. And one, you get burned out because it's like, it's hard to crank those out at the volume that some people do. And like you said, the clips that are like really take off, it's usually something funny or like a meme.
Or it's like a girl in bed, like looking down her, like you know, like as a double chin, is just like, I just woke up. And you're like, really? I just spent like or like the person that's like in their car explaining what just happened to them in the nail salon, and you're like, really? I just spent like hours on this clip, and like the clips that are really working online are like some like they're just, it's so raw and authentic that like literally they just picked up the phone and started talking to it, you know?
Yeah.
So it's hard, and then people are like pulling their hair out making these clips that like then they're not seeing any traction on it. So I think that sometimes you get like a really good short form moment.
Yeah.
And I love those. But then there are other times where it's just, this whole segment speaks for itself. And I think there still is an audience for that.
Yeah. I think so too. I think hopefully as we progress like in society, we get a little bit more away from all the short form stuff. I don't know, just because it's like brain rot like all day.
We could only hope. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, I think podcasters don't realize, at least from what I've seen, like, it's good to make some clips, put them out there, you know, show that you're relevant, show that, you know, create some visibility. But I don't know that for someone to take the journey from like seeing the clip and being interested, like, oh, okay, I kind of like what they're doing. And then to close Instagram or TikTok, to then open Apple or Spotify, type the name of the show in, which you might not even know right away, to find it, to click follow. It's a big journey for somebody to take. And I think that sometimes when I have these like discovery calls with companies that like want to do podcasts and they really are like into the clips, it's like, well, it's good. It is good. Like, don't get me wrong. It's one piece of the pie.
Don't get me wrong. Clips are great, but like,
it's not going to. You're not going to get all these. Like, a clip might have like 20,000 views or 1,000 likes, and then they think that that's going to transfer over to the listening platforms, and it's usually not.
There's some podcasters I even follow, like bigger podcasters that like I follow them on Instagram, but I actually haven't listened to their podcast, you know?
Right.
I think as far as growth, like I recommend to people in more than clips is guesting on other shows, because at least you know that the people you're talking to listen to podcasts. Yeah, as you're saying, it's like it's very hard to go from the scroll to be like, actually, let's pop my headphones on and do whatever I like to do when I podcast. It's like I'm never when I'm sitting on my couch and just kind of like rotting there and like scrolling on my phone. It's never a time where I'm going to be like, let's just start listening to this podcast and go from there, you know? So I mean, it's good for like getting to make yourself more familiar with people and like to make yourself as a brand. But in that case, I would sprinkle in between those clips, I'd sprinkle in a video of you talking about your day or whatever, like the really raw, authentic stuff that we were just talking about, because if your goal is to build a brand that people want to listen to more, then don't just post podcast clips, like diversify.
Yeah. And like you said, I think guesting is a good strategy. Guesting on other people's podcasts, because you're kind of in that podcast ecosystem. The guest is going to plug you a little bit. Their listeners are already podcast listeners, so they might find you interesting. And they hear your voice. Maybe they relate well to your voice. That's how I found my favorite podcasts, is from like they were guests on another show. I'm like, I love the way that they talk. I love like listening to them. There are some podcasts that like, there was like the whole idea of are there too many podcasts? But it's like, are there too many books? You know, like would you say the same thing? It's just sometimes I'll read a book about the same exact topic, but I like the way that author wrote it. Same thing for me. A friend of mine sent me a podcast the other day, and there was just something about the voice of the host that I just could not connect to. I didn't want to listen to. Yeah, I'm trying to be nice, you know, but I just like didn't want to listen to it on the way to my job. And then I ended up finding other podcasts about the same topic and listening to that one just because it was like easier on my ears. It's kind of like, it's because I didn't record in Riverside, you know? The voice is important. Though.
It's because it was on compressed audio, and I'm just used to the Riverside crisp, clear quality, you know?
It sounded so good. Yeah. You wanted it to sound good.
Yeah, I needed it.
Cool. Well, yeah, it's okay. So I'm glad I got to learn a little bit more about you. Tell me, like, what's next for you? Like, what are you excited about doing, with Riverside? And, just tell me a little bit about what the future looks like for Kendall.
Wow. I can't used to answering questions for Riverside. I'm like, what do I do next?
Well, it's like
Um,
the reason I asked too is because you're a parent. So it's when I get parents on here that have young kids, I like
yeah.
to ask them because it's hard to juggle everything. Like, I'm
Yes.
finally in
Yeah.
a kind of more of a relaxed place with our 16-month-old. It was for like the first 9 months. It was rough, and our first daughter. For some reason, I think we just got lucky. It was like super chill with her sleeping. She just kind of like started sleeping
Don't
through
tell
the
me
night
this because don't tell me
automatically.
this only because my daughter's the same way. She's very chill, and everyone keeps being like, "Well, if you have a second, they're gonna keep you up all night because that's like physics or whatever."
Yeah.
So
The universe doesn't give it to you twice where it's like
no,
smooth.
lightning does not strike twice in the same place. So as far as Riverside, I'm excited about like we're continuing to grow the community. We are really leaning towards now hosting in-person recording. Like there's going to be a lot of really cool stuff. And my favorite part, I mean, like the product team, hats off to them, developers. They're working so hard on these new products, but I selfishly get to be the one that like delivers the news to people. I get to be the one that sits on calls with people and
That's fun.
learns about how they use Riverside and how they love it and like how it's let them like it facilitates them being able to do something they're passionate about and excited about. So like I get to kind of live that part of the process and it's really gratifying and I love to do it. Um I would say, as far as for me, I think that I am now that I'm a parent. It sucks because I have less time to do these things, but I'm
Right.
also like I also have so many different things that I now want to try because I'm seeing life in this new way of like of how I don't know how fun life can be and how there's so much more of it outside of work. And I already knew that kind of stuff. But for example, like starting a podcast, it's always been something that I have wanted to do. And it's crazy that I haven't because I work at Riverside. I think that I have like the opposite effect of a lot of people are like, oh, I wanted to start a podcast. They don't realize how much goes into it. I have the opposite type of thing that I'm like, I want to start this, but if I do, I need to have 10 episodes recorded and ready before I launch and all of the stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that when you see your kid's life, you're like, oh my gosh, look at all of the things that I want them to do and accomplish in their life. And then you look at yourself and you're like, I need to think that about me too. You know, like I need to keep my dreams also, right? So I think just putting myself out more in new out there more in just new ways, maybe a podcast, maybe posting a few videos on TikTok, maybe coming on a few other people's podcasts, but like something that makes me feel like I'm also doing something that
Something.
fills my cup, if that makes sense. Do you connect with that?
Yeah, because it kind of takes because when you have kids, at least for a while, it kind of that stuff all sort of goes away because your life is just about like the family and the child, and
Yeah.
you kind of lose. Like I feel, I feel like I'm a shell of who I used to be. I used to be so cool and like travel and do like fun things, and like I feel like going to like concerts and shows. I feel like that has stopped a lot, but I will say that I feel like just in the last few months I've kind of settled into a good place where our 3.5-year-old, yeah, she's a crazy toddler. And then my 16-month is very like in a good place where she's sleeping. And then my wife and I feel like our life has finally kind of slowed down. And so I'm starting to get that like gusto to like start doing stuff again. Whereas
Yeah.
like it was, I mean, yeah, like 3 years of like, yeah, just only doing family stuff, like fully embracing like dad life. And I've loved it. It was a little difficult to transition to that, but
Hmm.
been in that, and now I feel like my time is managed a little better, and I can start doing like yeah more stuff again, or at least having time
Yeah.
to think about like yeah what is it that I want to do because I feel like I used to know, and now I'm like I need some hobbies or something. Like I gotta get into something, you know?
It also just kind of feels like before that, and when I was like younger, it feels like what am I going to be? There's so many things that I can do. And then like that kind of almost paused for me when I became a parent because I'm like, oh, this is what I'm doing. And this is,
This is,
and
yeah.
so I think that like I want to, as like what's next for me is like, okay, this happened and I'm excited about this new chapter, but I also like want to make sure that I'm trying to, I don't know, do something that makes me not feel like I'm like, wow, my life used to be so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. That's me.
'Cause I feel the same way. I feel the same way. But your life is cool. You're doing what I'm like. Oh, that'd be cool to do. So
I
hats
feel
off
like
to
you'd
you.
be
Hats off to all the other creators.
Well, thank you. But I feel like you would be like if you want to start a podcast. It seems like very natural, like the way you
Thank you.
talk on camera. Like I feel like you would. It would be totally like obviously the hurdles of starting and launching and the production
Well,
and
but
the
like, what's my niche?
that's
Like basically
that's
it's that kind of thing. It's like thinking
yeah.
about what show to do. That's where I always get stuck. Is like I have so many things I'd love to talk about, but like, what would I contribute? What's different than other show? Like that kind of thing. I think I keep getting stuck at the ideation part and
Right.
then putting myself out there. Like it takes a lot to like promote your own show, on your own socials and try to like it's putting yourself out there in a way that like I really have so much respect for the entire community and then want to do myself, like look up to a lot.
Yeah, I'd say that the idea part is the hardest. I threw around like so many, and then I was like, I'm just gonna lean into like the creator education, talking to, getting tips and resources from people in the industry, and and so
Yeah.
it's been good. I've enjoyed it. I got to do more interviews. I do a lot of solo stuff because just sometimes on the fly, like I'll have an idea and I'll jot down a little outline and then I'll just talk. But yeah, my goal, one of them, is to get more in the community because I feel like being a parent, COVID, and then being a parent, and I do feel kind of isolated. And while this is remote, just doing more remote stuff, going to more in-person events and stuff. I think that's kind of what my next thing is in the podcast
Good.
world.
That's great.
I want to ask you. And I should have asked you this earlier just because I'm curious, and then we'll round home here and wrap up. But what's it like working for a company abroad compared to like in the US? And we touched a little bit on like the vacation days, like the culture.
Yeah.
Is it more or less like the same thing, or is it like way
No.
different? It's different?
No, it's way different.
Really?
I really the culture here is a lot more straightforward. So like it's always funny to me now because you don't realize how American you are until you go abroad. And you don't like another part of that is like not realizing how American like you work, I guess, until you go
Sure.
abroad. So there's just people here are like it like not I'm just saying in this company, I'm saying it as far as a culture in a whole, are like very much more straightforward. They're like, I don't like this idea, or like,
Oh.
no, we're not going to go with that. It's not, and then you'll get on a call sometimes with like American coworkers, not just at Riverside. I'm saying when I was at Wix or other companies,
Yeah.
and those people be like, yeah, like I'm gonna like let's consider that and like circle back to it. And that's also their way of saying like this is probably not going to be an idea.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
But it's just there's no like beating around the bush. It's just like, no,
Direct.
like let's just do the other idea. It's just very direct, which at first was off-putting. Not off-putting, but it was at first like destabilizing because I'm like, oh,
Sure.
you hate me now because you don't like my idea. You must hate me.
Yeah.
But then you start to really appreciate it because you're like, okay, I know where I stand. I know that if they say they like this idea, they really like the idea. It's a similar idea in the culture here that like I was surprised when I go out to parties and I'd say like people would be like, let's get coffee sometime. And then the next day they'd text me and they'd be like, when can we get coffee? I'm like, why are you stalking me?
Okay.
It just would never happen in the US that like
Yeah.
you'd really have that follow, at least in the culture, like in East Coast culture that I was in,
Yeah.
that would really happen. So I say there was that. And I'd also say that just like, there's much more of a like chill, friendly culture here in a way that like we will go out to drinks as coworkers like right after. I find that I socialize and become friends with my coworkers, and not just like in the way of like we're at work and we're friendly with each other, but like outside of working hours is a difference for me. But maybe
Calming.
that's just in the places I was working.
Yeah, no, I mean, I could see that. I feel like I'm picturing Europe. I feel like it would be like that in like London
Hmm.
and Paris, and like it's maybe kind of like
It's
more that kind of vibe, and like, yeah.
it's a very spontaneous culture. I think part of it is just because of like the way life is lived here. It's like very like, day like every day is like a gift in a way. And like I think that people are very spontaneous here. Like I could get like it's 7 o'clock tonight and like I could have plans tonight. I just have no idea. Like I'll like text a friend and be like, "What are you up to right now?" And then go meet them. It's like it's very spontaneous, very much less like planned and very appreciating life, living in the moment kind of thing. And I think that kind of stuff bleeds into the workplace as well. But also, my last reason I'll say is parenting. Like I
Mm.
leave work and like I've never been a parent in the US, but like I'll leave work at 4 to pick up my kid. And like I could log back in later, but like otherwise I'll set in my Slack that I have time with my kid and I people won't be messaging me asking me for stuff. Like family time is really cherished here in a way. Or
Valued.
there's one day a week where I mark in my calendar that like from 3 to this time I'm with my kid. And that's just
Oh,
important to me, so it's important to them, which is really
important to them.
nice.
That
Yeah.
space they give you. That's awesome.
Yeah, it's nice.
Well, yeah, I love to hear that. I just, yeah, curious about the differences. But yeah, that's just some insight selfishly for me. Well, cool. Well, Kendall, it's been great having you on. Is there anything else you want to plug? Where can people find you? Like, is LinkedIn or where are
Yeah.
you most active?
Well, first, thanks for having me on. But I was my I think the only thing that I'll plug besides Riverside this whole episode is you could find me on LinkedIn, Kendall Brightman. It should be written somewhere here for those keywords.
Oh, yeah, we'll link to.
But in those go into those show notes for the first time ever. I'm
Yeah.
kidding. And then there's our community on Facebook for Riverside. It's Conversation Creators by
Oh,
Riverside. And
I didn't
it's
know
over
that.
20,000. Yeah, over 20,000 creators. We're really super supportive of each other. It's also where I announce feature updates first. So definitely come to the community. And when you join, mention that you heard about it here on the podcast. Would love to
Love
know.
that. Say it
Yeah.
one more time, the name of the group.
Conversation Creators by Riverside. It's on
Conversation
Facebook.
Creators by Riverside. Yeah, I
Yeah.
will. I'm going to check that out too. That sounds awesome.
Check it out. You're more than welcome.
Well, Kendall, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This has been great.